There comes a moment in every life when the world attempts to shake you. Circumstances roar, people provoke, and appearances scream for your reaction. But I say to you, do not react, rise. For the one who rises above appearances commands them. You see, life is not happening outside of you, it is happening through you. Every event, every encounter, is nothing more than a shadow cast by your inner state. When you react, you give your power away to shadows. But when you remain calm and unshaken, you stand as the creator of reality, not its victim. Your imagination is the true cause of everything you meet. Assume the feeling of the state you desire, and no storm in the outer world can move you. When anger seeks to pull you, withdraw inwardly. Enter the silence of your mind and claim, I am unmoved. I am greater than this appearance. When fear knocks, answer with the assumption of faith, all things are working together for my good. Do not wrestle with shadows. Transform your state, for as your state changes, so will your world. Remember, your reactions are seeds. What you plant within will grow without. Tonight, as you lay upon your bed, replay your day not as it was, but as it could have been had you remained unshaken. Revise it. Assume calm. Assume mastery. Assume victory. And tomorrow, walk not as one who reacts, but as one who rises. For the calm soul commands the storm. Life reflects inner states, not outer circumstances. What you carry within becomes the lens through which you see the world, and the force that shapes every encounter. If your inner state is calm, the outer world bends to reveal harmony. If your inner state is fear, the outer world mirrors back reasons to tremble. Circumstances are not the masters they appear to be, they are only projections of your imagination and assumptions. To change your life, change the state from which you think and feel, for the outer is nothing more than the echo of the inner. Reacting gives power to appearances. The moment you allow an outer event, a word spoken by another, or a circumstance that seems unfavorable to dictate your mood, you hand over your authority to shadows. Appearances are fleeting. They are the after effects of states once assumed. Yet when you react, you treat them as causes, as if they hold the power to determine your destiny. In truth, they are powerless without your consent. Reaction ties you to the very state you wish to escape, binding you to repetition. To become free, you must learn to remain unmoved. Observe the event, but do not surrender your inner stability. When you withdraw your attention from appearances and return to the unseen reality of your imagination, you reclaim your power. By choosing not to react, you affirm that the outer is subject to the inner, and not the other way around. The calm refusal to be swayed is not weakness, it is mastery. It is the silent declaration that you are the cause and the outer world merely the effect. The less you react, the more you rise, and the more appearances must conform to the state you firmly occupy. Within, calmness is a position of mastery. It is the still center from which true authority flows. The state that refuses to be tossed about by appearances or driven into panic by the noise of the world. When one is calm, one is not indifferent but deeply anchored, rooted in the knowledge that life is shaped not by what happens outside, but by the assumptions and imaginal acts held within. The one who remains calm in the face of chaos stands as the creator rather than the created, the master rather than the servant. Calmness is not passivity, it is power concealed, strength disciplined, vision preserved. In calmness, imagination is free to act without interference, for the agitated mind scatters its energy, while the calm mind directs it with precision. When others lose themselves in reaction, the calm individual sees beyond appearances and remembers the true cause lies within. This inner stillness creates clarity, and clarity gives birth to decisive action. Calmness allows one to choose a state deliberately instead of being dragged into a state by circumstance. It is the throne of the inner world, and from it one rules without raising a voice or lifting a hand. Calmness commands because calmness assumes. The calm soul knows that appearances are shadows destined to change, and so it does not wrestle with them. It knows that storms pass, but the self that abides within remains eternal. To hold calmness in the midst of turmoil is to affirm dominion, for nothing can shake the one who has mastered self. It is in that unshaken stillness where imagination plants its seeds, and it is from that calm foundation that the outer world must take form. Imagination is the cause of all experiences. Every event, every circumstance. Every encounter in your world first existed as a seed in the unseen realm of thought and feeling. Before anything becomes visible, it is conceived within imagination. For imagination is the workshop of reality, the silent power that molds substance into form. The life you live today is the harvest of imaginal acts, whether conscious or unconscious. What you have assumed, what you have persistently entertained in the mind, is what now stands before you as fact. The outer world is nothing more than imagination objectified, a mirror reflecting the state you most deeply occupy within. When you imagine yourself to be lacking, when you dwell in states of fear or failure, life responds by presenting you with circumstances to confirm those assumptions. Yet when you dare to imagine yourself fulfilled, abundant, loved, and secure, reality rearranges itself to match that inner conviction. Imagination does not ask if you are worthy or ready. It simply creates according to the images you persist in holding. This is why every transformation begins within. To change your world, you must first change the imaginal scenes you allow yourself to inhabit. Imagination is not fantasy or idle daydreaming. It is the creative act of assuming the reality of your desire and living inwardly from that state until it hardens into fact. Each time you revise an unpleasant memory, each time you see yourself in possession of the good you long for, each time you refuse to accept the evidence of the senses and instead choose to see with the inner eye, you are exercising the divine power of imagination. The unseen becomes seen, the invisible becomes visible, and what was once only an inner vision becomes an undeniable outer experience. Imagination is the cause of all experiences, because nothing can appear in the outer world unless it has first been allowed to live in the inner world. To understand this truth is to hold the key to freedom, for you no longer wait upon circumstances to change, but instead enter into the state you desire and trust imagination to do the work. Assume the feeling of your desired state. To assume is to take upon yourself the inward conviction that what you long for is already true. Desire itself is not enough. It must be clothed in the feeling of fulfillment. The world responds not to what you wish or beg for, but to what you inwardly accept as real. When you assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled, you rise to a new state of consciousness, and consciousness is the only reality. What you are conscious of being is precisely what your world must mirror back to you. To assume is not to pretend, nor is it to force. It is to enter into the inner atmosphere of your wish with such faith that you feel it as present, here and now. The body may still stand in one place, but the mind is already dwelling in the house of its desire. It is the difference between saying, I want to be, and I am. When you say, I want, you confirm lack. When you say, I am, you affirm possession. The assumption is a bridge that carries you from longing to living, from absence to presence. The secret is feeling, for feeling is the one and only medium through which assumptions harden into fact. To assume without feeling is to imagine without life. But when feeling saturates your assumption, when you inwardly walk, talk, and breathe as though it were already so, the invisible law of life goes to work to rearrange the outer world in harmony with your inner conviction. The senses may deny it, appearances may mock it, but persistence in assumption always prevails. What is seen will eventually yield to what is felt within. This practice demands discipline, for the senses constantly tempt you to react, to accept the evidence of lack or delay. Yet mastery is found in returning again and again to the state of fulfillment until it becomes natural, until it feels more real than what your eyes behold. At night, as you drift into sleep, assume the scene of your desire as though it were now unfolding. Feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude, the naturalness of it. Let sleep carry you into the state of accomplishment, for the subconscious receives impressions most vividly in that drowsy borderland between waking and sleep. To assume the feeling of the desired state is to live from the end. It is to dwell not in the question, but in the answer, not in the need, but in the possession. It is to embody the very condition you wish to experience and to trust the law of consciousness to objectify it in time. Every assumption, when persisted in, becomes fact, for the outer world is nothing but your assumptions pushed out. Assume the feeling, and let life mirror back the certainty you have already claimed within. Withdraw from anger, Claim inner strength. Anger is the most subtle thief of power, for it convinces you that it is strength when in truth it is weakness disguised. To react in anger is to lose mastery over yourself, to surrender the throne of calm authority to a fleeting shadow. Anger is born of the belief that circumstances or people have power over you, that your peace can be taken, that your destiny can be threatened. Yet nothing in the outer world has power except that which you give it. To withdraw from anger is not to suppress it, but to rise above it, to refuse to give energy to an illusion. When provocation comes, when words sting or events unfold against expectation, the untrained mind leaps to retaliation. But retaliation is bondage, for it ties you to the very state you wish to escape. Anger chains you to appearances, ensuring their continuation. For whatever you persist in feeling must reproduce itself in your experience. To withdraw is to step back inwardly, to recognize the anger rising, and to say silently, I am greater than this. This moment does not define me, I define it. Such withdrawal is not cowardice, it is courage, the courage to claim your true inheritance as the master of your inner world. Inner strength is born in stillness, not in noise. It grows when you choose silence instead of outburst, calm instead of turmoil, vision instead of reaction. Strength is not proven in the ability to crush another with words or actions, but in the ability to remain unmoved, to stand steady while the storm rages. The one who can hold peace in the midst of conflict holds the greater power, for they are no longer a servant of appearances, but a ruler over them. Withdraw from anger by shifting your focus from the provocation to the truth of your being. Remember that all things are states, and states are subject to change. The words of another, the act of betrayal, the injustice of a moment, all are shadows that will pass. Do not hand them your energy, for energy is creation. Instead, assume the higher state, the state of dignity, of calm assurance, of unshaken faith. Each time you withdraw, you weaken anger's hold, and each time you claim inner strength, you strengthen your command over life. At night, as you review your day, if anger has touched you, revise it. See yourself responding with calmness where you once reacted with fury. Imagine yourself rising above instead of sinking below. In revision, you train the subconscious to accept peace as natural and anger as foreign. With persistence, the need to react dissolves, and calmness becomes your dwelling place. Inner strength is not loud, it is quiet, steady, and enduring. It does not need to prove itself, for it simply is. To claim it, you need only withdraw from every impulse that would drag you downward, and return to the awareness that you are the creator, not the created. You are the cause, not the effect. Anger blinds you to this truth, but calm reveals it. Withdraw and you rise. Withdraw and you claim. Withdraw and you step into the authority that was always yours, the authority of a soul unmoved and unshaken. Answer fear with faith and assumption. Fear is the great paralyzer of man, the voice that whispers of loss, limitation, and danger. It thrives on appearances, magnifying shadows until they seem immovable. Fear convinces you that the outer world has the final word, that circumstances dictate destiny, that you are powerless against forces beyond yourself. Yet fear is nothing but imagination misused, a projection of the mind clothed in dreadful expectation. It is the assumption of failure, of sickness, of lack, of abandonment. What you fear is what you secretly assume, for imagination, whether guided by faith or fear, is always creating. The only way to silence fear is not by resistance but by assumption, for resistance only feeds it with attention. When fear presents its images, answer it not with struggle but with faith. Faith is loyalty to the unseen, confidence in the reality of your assumption, certainty that what you inwardly claim is greater than what you outwardly see. Faith is the refusal to bow before appearances, the quiet knowing that imagination creates reality. To answer fear with faith is to stand unmoved in the presence of threatening shadows and declare within yourself, it is already done. Assumption is the practical expression of faith. To assume is to take the desire, place it within your heart, and feel it as fulfilled. When fear says you cannot, assumption replies, I already am. When fear paints images of loss, assumption paints images of abundance and holds them with persistence. The two cannot coexist, for assumption rooted in faith dissolves fear. Fear demands reaction, but faith rests in assurance. Fear asks, what if it fails? Faith answers, It has already succeeded. Every fear is an invitation to choose. You may accept the state fear offers and live in its reflection, or you may refuse it and assume a higher state. Fear has no power once you withdraw belief from it, for belief is the lifeblood of all states. Without belief, fear dies, but with belief, it thrives. Your task is not to banish fear by force, but to shift your inner allegiance from fear's images to faith's assurance. This shift is made in imagination. When you imagine from the end, when you feel the wish fulfilled, when you rest in the conviction that your desire is now fact, fear has no soil in which to root. The senses may present delay, the outer may shout impossibility, yet faith in assumption sees beyond. It walks by the inner vision, not by sight. It says, though the fig tree does not blossom, I rejoice, for within me the harvest is already secured. To answer fear with faith and assumption is to cultivate the habit of inner mastery. Each time fear arises, do not deny its presence, but deny its authority. Acknowledge it only to withdraw your belief and replace it with assumption. This practice, repeated, builds an unshakable foundation. At night, as you prepare for sleep, examine the day. Where did fear speak? Where did you tremble? Revise the scene. Imagine yourself acting with calm assurance, speaking words of faith, assuming the outcome you desire. Let the subconscious absorb this revision, and it will plant seeds of confidence that bear fruit in the outer world. Fear is not a permanent enemy. It is a messenger pointing to the areas where assumption must take root. When you fear poverty, it is a sign to assume wealth. When you fear rejection, it is a call to assume acceptance and love. When you fear failure, it is an invitation to assume success. Each fear reveals the opposite state you are meant to occupy, and faith is the bridge that carries you there. The outer world cannot silence fear, for appearances are its fuel. Only faith in the unseen, only assumption of the fulfilled desire, has the power to dissolve it. Stand, then, in the knowing that what you imagine with conviction must come to pass. Answer every whisper of doubt, every trembling of the heart, with the steady declaration of assumption. Walk in the state of the wish fulfilled, and let faith be the atmosphere in which you breathe. In such a state, fear has no dwelling place, for light and shadow cannot abide together. Reactions are seeds that shape reality. Every thought you entertain, every feeling you allow, every response you give to life is a seed planted in the fertile soil of your subconscious. Just as the earth does not discriminate between seeds of wheat and seeds of weeds, your subconscious does not question the quality of the impressions it receives. It simply accepts and reproduces them in form. To react in anger, fear, doubt, or despair is to sow seeds that must bear fruit in corresponding experiences. To react in calmness, faith, love, and assurance is to plant seeds that yield harmony, abundance, and fulfillment. The invisible realm of reaction is the true workshop of destiny, for nothing can appear in your outer world that has not first been accepted within. Every encounter is an opportunity to plant. Life presents circumstances not to bind you, but to reveal what you are carrying inside. When someone provokes you and you answer with irritation, you have not merely responded to a moment, but have set into motion a cause that will return to you multiplied. When you meet the same situation with composure, refusing to be swayed, you have planted a different seed that will one day bloom into peace. Reactions are never neutral, they are creative acts. The outer world is not shaping you, you are shaping it through the seeds of your responses. The challenge is that reactions are often unconscious. Habitual patterns formed over years dictate responses before awareness can intervene. Yet every pattern can be broken the moment you choose to become conscious of your reactions. In that moment of awareness, you stand at the crossroads of creation. You can continue the cycle of reaction that binds you to repetition, or you can withdraw, take a breath, and choose a higher state. This is the essence of mastery, the ability to remain aware enough to plant deliberately rather than scatter seeds in ignorance. Consider how easily the mind falls into fear when appearances threaten. A sudden bill arrives, and the reaction is worry. That worry is a seed, and in time it will attract more lack. But if in that same moment you choose to affirm abundance, to assume the state of wealth, to hold faith in the unseen, you have planted a seed of prosperity that must return to you in form. The bill itself has no power. Your reaction to it determines the harvest. So it is with every challenge, every word spoken to you, every event that unfolds in your path. The law is simple but profound. What you sow in feeling, you reap in experience. This is why Neville Goddard urged revision, the practice of reimagining past events and revising your reactions to them. For the subconscious does not distinguish between what happened in the outer world and what is vividly imagined within. By revising, you uproot the old seeds of fear and anger and replace them with new seeds of calmness, confidence, and victory. These revised seeds then grow into new experiences, reshaping the trajectory of your life. It is vital to understand that seeds take time to mature. Just as a farmer does not plant today and harvest tomorrow, so too must you persist in planting the seeds of faith and assumption, trusting that they will ripen in their appointed season. Impatience is itself a reaction, and impatience plants seeds of frustration and delay. Patience, on the other hand, is the quiet conviction that the seed already contains the harvest. You do not need to force growth. You need only to tend to the inner garden by guarding your reactions, nurturing states of joy and gratitude, and refusing to water weeds with attention. Reactions are also contagious. The way you respond not only shapes your world, but influences the soil of others around you. A calm word in the midst of anger has the power to shift an atmosphere. A reaction of faith when others despair can inspire them to rise higher. You are never planting seeds only for yourself. You are scattering them in the collective field of consciousness, and what you contribute will echo outward. This is why the discipline of guarding your reactions is an act of love, not just for yourself, but for the world. To live deliberately is to recognize that every moment matters. Every irritation indulged, every doubt entertained, every fearful response is a seed, and seeds do not vanish. They grow. If you desire a different harvest, you must begin by sowing differently. Train yourself to pause before reacting. Step back inwardly and ask, what seed am I planting now? Does this reaction align with the reality I wish to experience? If it does not, choose again. Withdraw from the lower state and assume the higher. In time, this practice becomes natural, and your inner garden flourishes with the fruits of peace, abundance, and fulfillment. The great truth is that you are never at the mercy of appearances. The outer world is only the mirror of yesterday's planting, a reflection of seeds already sown. Today, in this moment, you hold the power to plant anew. Your reactions now are shaping the experiences to come. By mastering them, by choosing deliberately, by sowing with intention, you claim your role as the creator of your reality. Every reaction is a seed, and every seed holds within it the harvest of your future. Revise your day to align with calmness. Each night, as you prepare to surrender to sleep, you hold in your hands the most powerful tool for transformation, the ability to rewrite the script of the day you just lived. Your day is not fixed, your experiences are not final, and your reactions are not permanent. They are simply impressions upon the subconscious, and the subconscious accepts as true whatever you vividly imagine, whether it happened in the outer world or only in the theater of your mind. By revising your day, you take command of the seeds you planted unconsciously and replace them with new seeds of calmness, mastery, and faith. Most people believe the day is over when the clock strikes midnight, but in truth, the day lives on in memory, and memory is the soil from which tomorrow grows. If you reacted in anger, the subconscious holds that reaction as a seed and will seek to reproduce it. If you allowed fear, worry, or irritation to dwell in you, those impressions remain active, shaping the conditions of your future. But revision gives you the power to uproot those seeds before they mature. It allows you to revisit every scene and rewrite it according to your highest state. To revise your day is to step back into its moments with imagination as your tool. If a conversation left you unsettled, close your eyes and replay it. But this time, imagine yourself calm, poised, unshaken. Hear the other person's words differently, or hear yourself responding with dignity and serenity. Feel the satisfaction of having risen above instead of having fallen into reaction. The subconscious accepts this new version, and the old one dissolves. What was once a seed of discord is now transformed into a seed of peace. This practice is not mere fantasy, it is creation. For the subconscious does not differentiate between fact and vividly imagined reality. To it, what you feel and assume is real, and it builds your world accordingly. When you revise, you are not denying what occurred in the outer world. You are asserting your authority over it. You are declaring that the outer world is not the master, but the servant of your inner state. Revision is the exercise of dominion, the deliberate act of reshaping memory, so that tomorrow's harvest springs from calmness instead of chaos. Consider how often the day leaves behind residue. A harsh word lingers, a disappointment clings, a mistake replays itself in the mind. Left unchecked, these impressions repeat, multiplying themselves in new forms. But with revision, you can cleanse the day of its errors and implant the state you wish to carry into tomorrow. Imagine yourself receiving praise where you received criticism. Imagine success where you stumbled. Imagine calmness where you reacted. By persistently doing this each night, you are not escaping reality, you are creating a higher one. Calmness is the key, for calmness is mastery. When you revise with calmness as your guiding state, you are training the subconscious to accept serenity as natural and unrest as foreign. Over time, this conditioning produces a new nature. You no longer need to fight to remain calm, for calmness becomes your automatic response. Revision reprograms the inner man, replacing old habits with new patterns. It is like reshaping clay each night. You mold yourself into the image of the person you wish to be, and the outer world conforms. The best time for revision is the drowsy state before sleep, when the conscious mind relaxes and the subconscious is most receptive. In that twilight state, replay the day as though it had unfolded perfectly. Do not dwell on errors or regrets. Instead, see and feel the day as you wish it had been. Hear words of encouragement. Feel the joy of success. Sense the calmness that flows through every moment. Drift into sleep carrying this revised picture, and the subconscious will take it as fact, building it into the fabric of your future. Even the past beyond today can be revised. If an old memory still has the power to disturb you, revisit it in imagination and rewrite it. If someone hurt you, imagine reconciliation. If you failed, imagine triumph. If you reacted with anger, imagine yourself calm and composed. Each time you revise, you are loosening the hold of the old state and planting the seed of a new one. Life has no choice but to reflect the state you persist in assuming. The more faithfully you practice revision, the more you realize that nothing is fixed. The outer world is fluid, responsive, and obedient to imagination. Calmness, once cultivated in revision, begins to permeate waking life. You find yourself less easily provoked, more deeply anchored, more certain of your inner authority. Situations that once drew strong reactions now pass by without disturbing your peace. This is not suppression but transformation, for you have rewritten the script at the root. Revision is the nightly harvest and the nightly planting. It gathers the day's experiences, extracts the lessons, and sows new seeds for tomorrow. By aligning it with calmness, you are choosing to live from mastery rather than reaction. You are claiming your place as the creator, not the victim of experience. Each day revised is a day redeemed, and each redeemed day builds into a redeemed life. To revise your day to align with calmness is to live deliberately, consciously, and powerfully, shaping your destiny one quiet night at a time. Rise above appearances to command your world. The senses scream that the outer world is the final authority, that what you see and hear and touch has the power to dictate your destiny. Appearances come dressed in authority, clothed in evidence, demanding that you bow before them. Yet appearances are shadows, effects of inner causes, echoes of states once assumed. To live at the mercy of appearances is to live in bondage to effects, forever tossed about by circumstances, forever reacting to conditions that are themselves the offspring of your former imaginings. The great secret of mastery is learning to rise above appearances, to look beyond the immediate scene, and to anchor yourself in the unseen state of your desire fulfilled. The outer world is clay, not stone. It only seems solid because it is the hardened form of inner states once entertained. Just as a dream feels real while you are in it, so does waking life feel fixed, yet both are made of the same substance, imagination. Appearances have no life of their own. They draw their vitality from the belief you give them. Withdraw that belief and place it in a higher assumption, and the appearance must dissolve. Command of your world begins the moment you refuse to take appearances as final and dare instead to assume the unseen reality of your desire. When lack stares you in the face, appearances whisper that poverty is your portion. If you accept the whisper, you fertilize it with belief, and it must continue. But if you rise above it, if you dare to close your eyes to the evidence of absence and feel the wretchedness of possession, you plant a new seed. That seed, though unseen, is more real than the appearance of lack, for it is cause, while the outer is only effect. To rise above is not to deny what the senses report, but to refuse them the authority to define you. Every appearance is a test of allegiance. Will you ally with the shadow or with the unseen substance? When sickness appears, will you assume health, or will you bow to the evidence of weakness? When rejection comes, will you assume love, or will you surrender to loneliness? Each moment invites you to choose, and your choice shapes the reality that follows. To rise above appearances is to practice loyalty to your imagination, to the inner world where true creation occurs. This rising requires discipline, for the senses are persistent. They clamor for attention, reminding you of what is, insisting that what is must remain. Yet the law of life is clear. What you assume inwardly, when persisted in, becomes fact outwardly. Appearances may resist, they may linger, but they cannot withstand sustained assumption. Just as a shadow vanishes when light changes, so too do appearances dissolve when you occupy a new state. Command of your world does not mean force. It does not mean pushing circumstances with effort or wrestling with outer conditions. It means holding steady within, assuming the state of fulfillment until the outer world yields. It is the calm certainty of the farmer who plants a seed and does not dig it up each morning to check if it has grown. He knows the seed contains the harvest. In the same way, you must assume and rest, trusting the unseen process to bring the appearance into alignment. To rise above appearances is to develop a new relationship with time. The impatient self demands instant proof, yet true mastery waits in assurance. Appearances may take time to rearrange themselves, but that time is only the interval between seed and harvest. Do not confuse delay with denial. The moment you assume creation is finished in the unseen, the outer world is simply catching up. To command your world is to know that what is unseen is more powerful than what is seen, and to hold to that knowledge until the seen bows to the unseen. You practice this rising every day in small ways. A slight provocation tempts you to anger. Rise above and remain calm. A minor setback tempts you to despair. Rise above and assume success. A bill arrives and tempts you to worry. Rise above and assume abundance. Each choice to rise above is a rehearsal for greater mastery, a declaration that you will not be ruled by appearances, but will rule them instead. At night, revision is the great aid to this practice. For every moment you failed to rise above, you may revisit and rewrite. See yourself calm where you once reacted, triumphant where you once despaired, abundant where you once felt lack. By revising, you lift even your past above appearances, sowing new seeds that must bear fruit in the days to come. This is how you train the subconscious to accept calmness, mastery, and fulfillment as natural. To command your world is not arrogance, it is alignment with truth. You are not the servant of appearances, for appearances are but your own assumptions pushed out. They have no authority except that which you grant them. To rise above is to reclaim that authority, to take your rightful place as the creative center of your reality. The storm may rage, but you need not be moved. The winds may howl, but you remain anchored. The world may present delay, but you walk in assurance. Command is silent. It is not in loud declarations or desperate affirmations, but in quiet knowing. When you assume the state of your desire fulfilled and dwell in its feeling, you have commanded, and the universe obeys. The outer must conform, for it has no choice. It is law. The world cannot resist the inner state any more than the reflection in a mirror can resist the image before it. Change the state, and the reflection must change. To rise above appearances is to live from the end, to occupy in imagination the state you long for, until it becomes the atmosphere in which you breathe. Do not fight appearances, transcend them. Do not deny them with fear, replace them with assumption. Every time you choose to remain loyal to your inner vision, rather than the evidence of your senses, you ascend into mastery. And mastery is simply the recognition that appearances are fleeting, but states endure, and the state you persist in will write itself across the canvas of your world. The outer world is clay waiting for the hand of imagination. Appearances are temporary shapes, but you are the sculptor. Rise above the current form. Hold steady in the form desired, and the clay must yield. This is command, not through effort, but through faith, not through reaction, but through assumption. To live this way is to stand unmoved, while appearances shift, serene in the knowledge that all things are subject to imagination, and that your imagination, disciplined and loyal, is the true lawgiver of your life.